And hello one and all, and welcome to my weekly review for NXT. We're going to take a look at everything that took place on the August 3rd edition of NXT, as we are less than 2.5 weeks away until NXT TakeOver Brooklyn 2. It is fast approaching. The card is shaping up. We already have Samoa Joe versus Shinsuke Nakamura, Bayley versus Asuka, and we have the potential addition from seeing what happened on tonight's show of seeing the Revival take on the team of Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa. So it's already shaping up to be a solid card overall. So I thought tonight's edition of NXT did a well enough job of building towards TakeOver. There's a lot of good stuff on this show. We had the returning Hideo Itami. We had the debut of Bobby Roode. We had Samoa Joe look like a monster. Bayley and Asuka having a pretty good psychological stare down, trying to play the game of one-upsmanship and who has the advantage going into their match. To what was going on with the tag team division. Everything was on point for this edition of NXT. It was another enjoyable edition of NXT, as I have to say. Big fan of NXT and enjoy it on a week-in, week-out basis. So, with all of that out of the way, let's get into what took place on tonight's edition of NXT. So how do we kick things off this week? Well, we kick it off with the return of Hideo Itami. That's right, Hideo Itami has finally returned to NXT. He has been gone since, I want to say around May of last year. And it's hard to believe that Hideo's been gone that long. And it certainly has felt like it's been that long, if not even longer. But it was great to finally hear that we're getting Hideo Itami back in the ring on NXT. I think it's tremendous. Good for his career. Hopefully he can kickstart it, jumpstart, and get back to the position where he was at before. Because as we all know, in storyline, Samoa Joe was the one that took out Hideo Itami. So we'd possibly be seeing that feud fire up again after TakeOver Brooklyn. We'll have to see. But Itami got a great reaction from the crowd. He took on Sean Maluta from the Cruiserweight Classics series. I thought it was a good match, a good return for Hideo Itami. Maluta certainly looked good in this match. He got some offense in, but Itami was able to get the win with the knee for the win. And like I said, he looked good. He's still showing his scar where he got his shoulder surgery at. But overall, I thought his pacing, his timing was good. His conditioning looked good. It's just great to get Hideo back in the ring. Certainly missed him. His presence was missed on NXT, and it's just great to have him back. And one feud that I would like to see going forward for Hideo Itami is if Nakamura wins the title at TakeOver Brooklyn, could you possibly do a Nakamura versus Hideo feud? I think that would be tremendous stuff. So we'll have to see where they go with Hideo for TakeOver Brooklyn, but like I said, great to have him back. We then have the Revival talking in the back about how they were the greatest tag team in NXT history. They were eventually interrupted and challenged by TM61. Then eventually Gargano and Ciampa walked in, and then they staked their claim to being the number one contenders. And Dawson says that they already promised TM61 the match, so that match is going to happen, and you guys are just going to have to wait their turn. So I really liked how these teams were trying to stake their claim to the NXT Tag Team Championships. I could potentially see next week maybe you have TM61 versus Gargano and Ciampa to determine the number one contender at TakeOver Brooklyn. We could possibly be seeing that happen. We'll have to wait and see, but like I said, fan of all three of these teams. I think a triple threat between all three of these teams would be nice for a future TakeOver special. But by the end of this review, we know the direction that they're going for the tag titles at NXT TakeOver Brooklyn. So that led to the announcement of TM61 versus Dash and Dawson. So we had that to look forward to. We then had what was supposed to be Mojo Rawley versus Chris Atkin. But before the match could really get going, Samoa Joe would come in and beat the holy hell out of both of these guys. He beat down Riley. He beat down Atkins. Riley tried to beat up on Joe while Joe was mouthing off to everybody. Joe was like, "I'm gonna send a message to William Regal," and Joe was fired up. Joe was pissed off. Mojo tried to get some offense in, but Joe then cut him off and beat him down viciously on the stage, and he locked in the Coquina Clutch on Mojo Rawley. Joe is fired up. He is pissed off, and this is the best type of Samoa Joe that we could ask for. I've really enjoyed his reign as NXT champion ever since he won the title from Finn Balor unexpectedly. So great stuff from Joe, really on point, like I said, and he is determined to defeat Shinsuke Nakamura in what has potential to be a match of the year candidate. Cannot wait for Joe versus Nakamura at TakeOver SummerSlam weekend. It's going to be great stuff. We then had Bayley backstage being interviewed and saying how she isn't the same person that she was once she got choked out by Asuka at Dallas. And Asuka walked up to Bayley and says, if she's ready, she needs to come watch what's going to happen in Asuka's match that was to happen next. And after this, we had Asuka versus Aaliyah. Asuka said that instead of sitting at the commentator's desk, Bayley should grab a chair and sit right near ringside. So Bayley did that, and Asuka really took it to Aaliyah. She pretty much dominated and destroyed her with knees to the back of the head, kicks. Asuka didn't pull no punches, and she really displayed even more of a vicious side than we have seen from Asuka in the past. Kind of displaying heel tendencies here, because I was definitely hearing some boos in the crowd, and I'm wondering what type of reaction that Asuka will get when she goes into Brooklyn to face Bayley in their rematch for the NXT Women's Championship. Bayley's obviously going to get a very strong, favorable reaction, but I'm pretty sure Asuka will be getting a mixed reaction. So I definitely noticed they were playing up the heel tendencies on Asuka here, but Asuka, of course, got the win after locking in the Asuka lock. And after the match, Asuka refused to let go of the hold, and Bayley got in the ring, and she said, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? And Asuka got right in Bayley's face and held up her NXT Women's Championship. Good stuff right here. Cannot wait for their contract signing next week on NXT. It makes for good stuff. We then have, finally, the debut of Bobby Roode. That's right, Bobby Roode made his debut in NXT tonight, should I say last night, and this was a good promo by Roode. Roode addresses, how NXT is taking over, the wrestling world, how it has revolutionized wrestling is because of you, the NXT fans. And then eventually he turns his promo against the fans. He says, Bobby Roode is going to be the superstar that NXT has been looking for. And, he said soon the crowd will be filled with presidents and CEOs, not the unwashed fat losers that are in the crowd right now. And from this moment, NXT will be glorious. He just keeps talking up himself like he's the greatest thing since sliced bread. Happy they signed Bobby Roode. I think he could be a good addition to NXT or the main roster if you want to put him up there. He is definitely ready, but if he's going to be on NXT for the time being, certainly not going to complain. Always been a fan of Bobby Roode since his days in TNA, but I really like the way this promo started and the way that he just turned it on the crowd. I think Roode can be great either as a babyface or a heel, but I think he just is better overall as a heel. That's what I've seen from my days of watching TNA. He was one of my favorites. But good stuff. And one match that I'd like to throw out there, I'd like to see Hideo Itami versus Bobby Roode. I think that would be a good addition to the TakeOver Brooklyn card, so we'll see what direction they go for both of these guys. But, it's great to have Bobby Roode on the NXT roster. And then finally, we had our main event of the evening. It was the Revival taking on TM61. Good tag team match. The Revival were able to, get the victory over TM61 after Miller hit a nice spine buster, but Dawson was able to hit Miller as he returned in the ring for the DDT for the win. So the one nice thing I'd say is it's nice to see somebody hit a DDT and not have somebody kick out. That move has just really become neutered over time. So when I saw that, I'm like, thank you. Finally, somebody got pinned with the DDT. So the Revival are your winners here. After the match, Dawson and Dash go on and talk about how they've beaten everybody in NXT, from American Alpha to Enzo and Cass to the Vaudevillains, on and on and on. And then eventually Gargano and Ciampa come out, and they pretty much mock the Revival and say that, you've beaten all those teams, but you haven't beaten us. And they said they want those NXT tag team titles. And Ciampa and Gargano are able to hit their finisher on Dash Wilder. Dash Wilder. And they hit the 3 count, and they celebrate with the tag titles. They hold them up like they won them, but of course they didn't. But crowd was behind them. I think this could be a good addition to the NXT TakeOver Brooklyn card. Gargano and Ciampa versus Dash and Dawson. That looks to be the direction that they're going in. We'll see what happens next week. But overall, like I said, really enjoyed this edition of NXT, as I always do. And if I had to give a grade for it, guys, I'm going to be giving it a B+ for this week. B+ for NXT. So, guys, that's my review, my thoughts and opinions on NXT, the August 3rd edition. Let me know down in the comments section below what you all thought of NXT. Please remember to click that like and subscribe button for more video content coming soon to this channel. Be on the lookout for my review for the next episode of the Cruiserweight Classic. Should be good stuff. So until then, guys, take care, and I will see you in my next video.